Okay, let's look at part 3. Periods of a deposit. When performing a needs analysis with the client, it is essential to establish the length of time that they are willing to invest. So you must ask them, what is the length of time that they are willing to invest? Because that will also have a big implication. So the period of deposit can be defined as the minimum length of time the funds are locked in before a client can access them. So if the money is locked in, then the client uh, have a minimum time before they can get access to that money. So in banking terminology, this is referred to as the investment period. So you need to establish from your clients what is the investment period of their choice or of their needs. So the various deposits that the bank accepts for savings and investments have specific periods attached to them. Usually, the longer the money is committed for the investment purposes, the higher the interest rate is paid on this type of investment. So the longer the money is invested, the higher the interest rate. The shorter uh, term the money is invested, the lower the interest rate. So you want ultimately to have your money invested for as long as possible, because then you'll get a higher interest rate and make more money. By establishing the client's financial profile, one can determine what investment period best suits his or her needs. So the client can choose from the following options: short-term investment, medium-term investment, and a long-term investment. Short-term is less than 12 months, such as a call account or a 32-day notice deposit account. Medium-term, that is 12 months to 5 years, such as a 12 months fixed deposit or unit trust. Or long-term, 5 years and longer. Things like unit trust and other financial products such as retirement annuities. Then we look at call deposits. Not all interest-bearing accounts are time-locked. For example, a call deposit earns interest calculated on a daily balance and paid monthly. So this type of investment usually allows one immediate access to the money. So whenever you need money, you know, I've got so much money in that investment, I can just withdraw one immediate. So you must think properly how much you need, because you can, if I've got one chance to get it immediately, one drawing immediately. The interest rate can fluctuate daily depending on market conditions. The initial deposit can be added to at any time, and the funds can be withdrawn on demand. This type of account is also known as a demand deposit account and is an ideal investment for the management of short-term cash flows. They call it a demand deposit account because the funds can be withdrawn on demand. That's why it's a demand deposit account. Notice deposits. Now the word notice says it all. It's when you give notice. Okay. So notice deposits are short-term investments aimed at the clients who would like a higher return, but with the option of accessing their funds at short notice. So they want to access their funds at short notice, and hence we call it notice deposits. The investment period for this type of account relates to the notice period. So the client is required to give notice. You see, once again, the client must give notice before he or she can access the money. The categories of notice periods usually 32 days, 60 days, and 88 days. However, some financial institutions offer more extended periods, such as 185 days, and the funds are available at the expiry of the notice period. There are two notice options on this type of account. We've got the no notice basis, where they don't give notice, and you've got immediate notice. So when you look at no notice basis, the funds are invested and no maturity date, notice period is given for the investment. The client will have to advise the bank that he or she will require the funds within a specific period of the product, like 32 days notice for a 32-day account or 60 days notice for a 60-day account, and so on. Immediate notice. Now that word immediate says it all. The client gives immediate notice on the account on the day that the funds are invested, and the funds became available at the end of the notice period. So when you invest that funds, you tell that person, okay, the investment period is, let's say, 90 days, 3 months. I immediately give notice that 3 months from now or in 90 days from now, I want my money. It's an immediate notice. There are penalties payable if the client requires his or her funds before the notice period. So if you invested it for 32 days, now you want it after 15 or 20 days, you give notice, they will tell you it's too short. But if you pay the penalty, they can help you. And then you must decide whether you want to pay the penalty or not, depending on how desperately you need that money. So this option is of a benefit to clients who would prefer an account that will earn a higher rate of return than a savings account, but where they can add to the initial investment and still benefits from the increase in the rate of interest. This type of deposit generally attracts tiered interest rates, which means the more money the client can save, the higher the rate of investment he and she will earn. It is a low risk investment. Okay, when we look at fixed deposits, interest bearing accounts such as fixed deposits have a specified investment period attached to the agreement. In some banks, the period can be as short as 1 month, but also as long as 5 years. This type of investment requires the client to commit a specified amount of money for a given period for a set rate of return. In other words, you agree to pay 1,000 Rand a month for the next 5 years, or 1 year, or 2 years, or whatever you decided. A fixed amount is invested in the bank and may not be increased or decreased. And no additional deposits or withdrawals can be made during the investment period. So you have to stick with that. Let's say you get 2,000 Rand a month, you have to keep with 1,000 a month. You cannot next month, after you receive the bonus, put 2,000 in, etc. The rate is negotiated on the date of the investment and remains fixed for the period of the investment. The maturity date is agreed to on the date of the deposit and cannot be changed. Usually, the longer the period the client is prepared to invest for, the higher the interest rates. Remember when we went back a few slides ago, we said the longer the term of the investment, the higher the interest rates, the more money you will get at the end of the day. If the money is withdrawn before the maturity date, the client will have to pay an early withdrawal penalty. And this is a low risk investment. Okay. When you look at unit trusts also form part of the wide range of products offered by banks and other financial institutions. Unit trusts allow the client to pool their resources into different investment options, including things like equities, bonds, money market instruments, and offshore assets. The unit trust is a type of a collective investment scheme. So they collect all the money from various people and they invest it in a scheme. That's why it's called a collective investment scheme. Think of it. They collect money from various people, and then they invest it into a scheme. And the schemes, and it can be either into equities or the bonds, as we said, or in the money market instruments, and or offshore assets. A team of professional fund managers, so there will be professional fund managers, are appointed to manage the portfolio of the unit trust. A unit trust is regarded as a medium to a long-term investment that is aimed at clients who wants to beat inflation. So they want to get more money than inflation. Otherwise, you're going backwards. The recommended period is between 3 years to 5 years and longer. No notice period is required, and once the client has indicated that he or she would like to withdraw the money, it will be available within 3 to 4 working days without any penalties. These investments are incredibly flexible, and one can change from a single lump sum to a regular monthly investments. One can increase or decrease the amount according to one's individual needs. So let's say the previous bullet, you paid in 10,000 Rand lump sum, and after a while you get the raise in salary or you get more commission. You can also ask them, but on top of your 10,000 Rand, you want to add 1,000 Rand or 2,000 a month as well. So that's why these kind of investments are incredibly flexible, and that you can change from a single lump sum to regular money investments as well to top it up. One can also increase or decrease the amount according to one's individual needs. So now you paid the 10,000 lump sum, then after a while you told them you want to deposit 1,000 Rand a month to top that 10,000 up, so that 10,000 will also grow with that 1,000 you put in. But say later you buy a new fancy car or a new house, or you get married and there's a newborn baby, and now your budget is a bit stiff. So you can ask them to decrease that amount. Instead of 1,000 a month, now I only want to pay 500 Rand. So fluctuations in share prices on the JSE create either an increase or a decrease in the value, which means that there is an element of risk attached to this specific option. So unit trusts have a little bit element of risk attached to them. Clients may have many different reasons for savings. As we all know, the financial solution that is offered would depend on the client's preferences and circumstances. Some of the aspects that would need to be considered when offering the client options that match their specific profile are as follows. The length of the time of the deposit, restrictions and penalties, liquidity, your risk, the required rate of return, and tax implications. So when you look at the length of time of the deposit, it will be critical to establishing the access required of the client. If the client needs quick access to the funds, in other words, they require access to the money at very short notice, then a savings account or a call account would be a good option. In most cases, bank products offer lower interest rates on demand deposit accounts than on notice and fixed deposit accounts. In general, the longer the investment period, the better the interest earning might be, as we discussed before. So when we look at restrictions and penalties, the restrictions and penalties on deposit accounts vary from bank to bank because each bank has got their own rules. So it is essential that each bank official working in that specific bank reaches the types of restrictions and penalties which will be applicable and which accounts they relate to. The types of restrictions on interest-bearing products can include the minimum and maximum balance requirements. For an example, some money market transaction accounts have to maintain a minimum balance of 20,000 Rand. A debit order must also be in place. to transfer a minimum amount of 1,000 Rand into this account at a time. So, for instance, 1,000 Rand every month on the 25th or 26th or 31st or whatever the case might be. If these rules are not adhered to and the account falls below 20,000 balance, the account will be closed. Now, the types of restrictions on interest-bearing products includes notice periods. So the client can access their funds immediately on a call account, but for other accounts such as a 32 days notice account, they require prior notice in writing. Interest rate restrictions, for example, the interest rate on a 32-day notice account increases after the first 32 days and again after 64 days, provided that no notice has been input on this account. Age restrictions, the bank provides specifically tailored products to suit the needs of their diverse clients. For example, products for minors or students or senior citizens with specific benefits such as higher interest rates on investment products or individual services fees on check accounts. We normally know that minors or students or senior citizens do get discounts. Deposit and withdrawal limitations, for example, on a specific product with a fixed maturity date, one can make a maximum of 2 withdrawals of 15% each, so 15% of the amount invested of the available balance without any penalties for early redemption. Minimum opening balances ranging from 100 Rand to 50,000 Rand. Penalty fees for early redemption of deposit and penalties when no notice has been given. These penalties differ from bank to bank and range from a set fee such as a minimum of 750 Rand for early redemption to 1% of the withdrawal amount. That is the kind of penalties that you might look at. That is just an example. Alrighty, when we look at liquidity. Liquidity relates to how easily funds can be accessed, as we said in the previous slide. So how quickly an investment can be converted into cash in the pocket. A long-term investment with a fixed maturity date is not a liquid investment and will be subject to penalties should the client require the funds before maturity. People who save for a rainy day, for a deposit on a house or a car, or in case of emergencies, are likely to need access to their funds in a relatively short period. So individuals and business occasionally have funds available that they do not need to use immediately, but they would like to earn some interest on the money until they do. These clients are also likely to want easy access to their funds and will probably choose a call or a notice deposit account depending on their specific financial context. The following accounts allow immediate access: savings, we all know that, and money market deposit accounts. And the following accounts require notice before funds can be accessed. That is your 32-day account, your 60-day, your 88 days. Call accounts with a 24-hour notice requirement. So an easy way to remember this is the word notice says it all. Notice, and the moment you see days, 32 on a number, 60, 80, 24, then you know notice requirements. So that 32 will tell me, 32-day notice, 60-day notice, 88 days notice, or 24-hour notice. So you can, when you study, you can see it. The moment you see an amount, it's a notice account. If there's no amount, there's no, let's say numbers, no numbers for these accounts. So no numbers equals immediate access. I hope that makes sense to you. Generally, a fixed deposit cannot be accessed before maturity because it is that the word says it is fixed. However, the clients can request uh, 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 that they I'm going to say the client's request can be processed subject to penalty. So the client can request to withdraw money, but then there will be penalties payable. A unit trust does not have any notice requirements. However, the bank requires notification for withdrawal of the funds in writing. So with a unit trust, there's no requirements to withdraw, but they only want they want you to give it in writing, and this takes a minimum of 3 working days to process. Okay, because unit trust, they've got other people involved. Remember, we said it's a collective investment scheme. They've got other people managing that investment, that money, so they must inform the other people that you want your money back, and that other people need to process everything, get the money out of that pool of that collective investment scheme, and then they have to transfer the money to the bank, and then the bank can give it to you. So it's a 3 working day process. Yeah, and make sure if you give them the bank a notice on a Friday, that Saturday and Sunday don't count. The 3 days will start the Monday, the Tuesday, and the Wednesday. Then when you look at the risk, it is vital to establish the risk profile of the client so that the products presented will match his or her personal preferences. The risk profile of a client will significantly influence the type of products that he or she would consider. The general rule is that the more risk the investor takes, the greater the potential for the higher return or the loss. Remember, we also said that right in the beginning. The more risk you take, the greater the potential for higher return or loss. Okay. One of the most significant risks when investing is that the investor can lose his or her investment. So when you see risk, that word says it all. It can be good, then you smile, let's draw a face there, you smile, or it can be bad. Let's draw a little signature there. You cry, all the teardrops. Okay. So, because that word says it all, it's a risk. It's a good risk or a bad risk. It's a risk. Various profiles of investors. So, let's look. We've got conservative investors, we've got moderate investors, and we've got aggressive investors. So, to try and remember this, you look at CMA, where the C will tell us the C is for conservative, the M for moderate, and the A for aggressive. Or we can also do CAM. We've got CAM investors. There the C is for the conservative, the A is for the aggressive here at the bottom, and then the M will be for moderate. Okay, CAM investors. So, when you look at the conservative investors, they are investors who want stability and want to protect their investment. The low interest rate for low risk suits their profile, and they do not mind increasing the value of the investment dramatically. This type of investor is risk averse and does not want to take risk with the capital that has been invested. And this will normally be your senior, your older people, senior or older people. All right, so they want low interest, low risk, suits their profile. Then we look at the moderate investors. They are long-term investors who want to consistently but relatively stable growth. So these investors do not mind some interest rate fluctuations. Remember, not high, just some. However, they would probably not invest directly in shares in the stock exchange, but rather invest in a unit trust, a collective immediate. So you can see they are like medium investors, moderate. They are in the middle. So remember the M. We can say the M for moderate is for medium class investors. They're in the middle. They don't want low interest, but they don't want low risk, but they also don't want high interest and high risk. They are in the middle. And then we get at the bottom your aggressive investors. They are long-term investors who want high capital growth. And what do we know about high capital growth? If you see high capital growth, if you see that high, it means risk. They're taking risk here. These investors want high return, and we know high return is high risk, and understand that to earn this return, there is often, you see, high risk involved. And that will normally be your younger generation people, because they've got plenty of years ahead of them. So if things go bad, they've got plenty of years still to save, and then maybe later on in life when they get older, they'll move from aggressive to medium, and when they also get older, then they will move from medium to conservative. All right. Then when you look at savings accounts, a bank savings account is a short-term investment. So when you look at savings, the S in savings tells me it's short. Savings and short term. And is considered a risk-free investment. The main risk is that the interest earned may not exceed inflation. Yeah, and this can also be a problem. Because if you earn, like we saw before in that other slides, let's say 5.08% interest on your money in your savings account, but the inflation is 9% or whatever, 8%, 7.6, you are on 5.8, so you are below inflation. So you will never exceed inflation. This type of product is most suited to new entrants in the financial market and low-income earners. It is a useful mechanism for saving for short-term goals. Call account. A call account or a calling account viewed as a short-term deposit, provided the funds are accessible within 12 months. It is also low risk and is used by clients who have large amounts of money that they need to park for a short period until the money is required. It can be, let's look at the example at the bottom. An example of this would be a client purchasing a home and or a motor vehicle where a deposit is required. So you sold your house, now you relocating to another town. You don't know where you want to stay because you don't know the area. So you invest your money, the profit you made of your money after settling the bank, or if you're lucky, your house was paid off, especially if you're an older person. You put that money in a savings account, short-term calling account. Now you moved out to the new place, let's say at the coast, and now you rent for 6 months just to figure out where you want to stay. Maybe you want a house that's got a sea view. So now you talk to the agents and they show you houses, and you see one with beautiful sea view. You said, I want to buy this house. So now you can get your fund from the calling account, and you can pay your house with the nice sea view. So your money was in that calling account, earned some nice interest, and you got it back within 12 months. Or the same, you sold your car, you're looking for another car, you park the money there, you find a car, you took the money out and you buy the other car. Okay, so then we look at notice deposit account. And notice deposit account is also a short-term deposit where the funds are accessible only once the client give written notice. Okay, you must always give written notice. Now it can either be by email or you write the letter. You cannot pick up the phone and phone them. They need it on black and white paper trail. The notice deposit account is regarded as a low risk and attracts investors looking for higher interest earning potential than paid by a standard call or savings account. This account is suitable for investors who have a deposit of at least 1,000 Rand and would like to be able to add to the investment amount from time to time. Then when you look at the fixed deposit account, this account can be classified as a short-term deposit if the client has access to the funds within 12 months. So a fixed deposit account is a short-term deposit within the 12 months. So every time you see like short-term, it will be within 12 months. Okay, because remember, 12 months to 5 years equals a medium investment. So your short term is always less than 12 months or within 12 months, as we saw in the previous slide before. However, a more extended investment period can be chosen, so you can take it longer if you want to. But otherwise, our standard short term is within 12 months. It is also a low risk investment and is suitable for clients who have a lump sum that they want to invest, but which is not required immediately. When you look at unit trusts, it is a medium to long-term investment. The risk can be regarded as medium to high as well, depending on the type of the portfolio the funds are invested in. Generally, the risk is spread over several types of investments, which reduces the risk. So as I said, they spread it. Maybe they take 6 portfolios where they invest. They'll take two high risks. They'll do two mediums and 2 low, so that they balance it out. If one high risk goes down, you've got another high risk that will push up the rest, but you've got still money growing on the 2 mediums and growing a little bit on the low risks. So that's how it's better to spread them all out. This product is suitable for more moderate or risk neutral investors who are prepared to take some risk when they do investing. I am the same. I spread mine. A little high, a little low, and a little medium. All right. And that is the end of part 3. If you've got any questions, please, there's my email address. Send me an email and I will gladly answer your questions. See you in part 4.